This video is made possible by CuriosityStream. Get the CuriosityStream Nebula Bundle deal currently on sale for just over $1 a month at curiositystream.com/real-life-lore. China is on the rise, and has been for the last several decades. Economically speaking, even just half a century ago in the early 1970s, the Chinese GDP per capita was on a par with Mali and Haiti at just over $100, while today it has surpassed countries like Russia and is over $10,000, a 100-fold increase. Further, the economy in total ranks second in the world behind only the United States in terms of overall nominal GDP. This incredible increase in the Chinese economy has brought about unprecedented levels of prosperity and new economic visions, such as the Belt and Road Initiative, which is aimed at investing globally to increase trade and develop a 21st century version of what was the old Silk Road. As part of this economic vision, China has engaged something like 138 countries and 30 international organizations and provided funding for large infrastructure projects across the world, like ports, railways, and more. One specific piece of this vision is what is known as the Maritime Silk Road, which covers the sea route from China stretching across the South China Sea, over the Indian Ocean towards Africa, and on through the Suez Canal, reaching Europe through several main ports on the Mediterranean. Essentially, it's a complementary initiative to the main portions of the initiative aimed at investing and fostering relationships with other countries, while ensuring that Chinese goods can be supplied globally. But if we zoom in on Europe specifically, we can see two ports that China has focused on more than most: the Greek port of Piraeus and the Italian port of Trieste. Here, China has invested hundreds of millions of dollars into infrastructure and improvements, hoping to increase capacity and ensure that Chinese goods are able to be delivered all across Europe. But there's just one problem. Although these ports do grant access to Europe, it's still a very long truck or train ride across the continent from them to reach other major cities and towns. Not to mention that trucks and trains are not nearly as efficient as boats, and neither are planes for that matter. Of course, if you do wish to continue sailing by ship to reach the rest of Europe, geography does offer you another option, but it does require a slight detour. Rather than heading straight inland towards the heart of Europe through a port like Trieste, your ships may instead turn east through the Turkish Straits, passing through the Dardanelles, and on through the Bosphorus before entering the Black Sea. From here, ships can continue sailing up along the coast and into the mouth of the Danube River, which will grant your ships access to much of Europe through cities like Belgrade, Budapest, Vienna, and Regensburg. Further, with the completion of the Rhine-Danube Canal in the early 1990s, ships can move along this route even further than before and reach all the way up to the North Sea if desired, with access to Europe's largest port in Rotterdam. But what if you could pass through the Danube and all of the cities and ports alongside it through maybe a more direct route? Well, this is exactly what China, as well as several other countries in the European region, are exploring, as a direct route to the Danube from the Mediterranean Sea would provide an incredible benefit. It turns out there are actually two paths being considered for this proposed shortcut. Option 1 would connect the Danube to the Aegean Sea near Greece by using two existing rivers, the Morava River, which runs through Serbia, and the Vardar River, which runs through North Macedonia and on into Greece. By connecting these rivers via a canal and widening the river at some points, there would be a clean path all the way from Thessaloniki on the coast of the Aegean Sea all the way up to just east of Belgrade on the Danube River. Of course, this option doesn't come without its challenges, as much of the river would be required to be widened and cleaned up. You see, today, much of the river is quite narrow, which would prevent the passage of many cargo ships, and according to European canal standards, the minimum depth must be at least 4 meters and the total width of the canal must be at least 28 meters. Meaning that although this route could make use of the existing rivers, there would still be a lot of work to do to allow full-on cargo ships to pass through. In a similar manner, option 2 would be to connect the Danube through to the Adriatic Sea near Venice. This route, although still being considered, is admittedly a bit tougher to traverse from a geography standpoint. The proposed channel would run up through the northern part of Italy and connect through the Austrian Alps via an 88-kilometer long tunnel that would then pass through Germany up through to near Passau, where access to the Danube would be granted. This route, like the previous one, would be approximately 700 kilometers in length and make use of smaller existing rivers stemming from the Austrian Alps. However, being that this route would require an extremely long tunnel, 88 kilometers long, it would be incredibly difficult. But it, like the first option, would save a massive amount of time for future cargo ships as opposed to going through the Black Sea route. For example, while considering the first option, the distance from the Aegean Sea to Belgrade via the Black Sea and along the Danube is roughly 1,900 kilometers. Compare this to the distance that you would take through the canal, which would be somewhere around 1,000 kilometers from the middle of the Aegean Sea to Belgrade. Therefore, ships entering the Mediterranean via the Suez Canal from Asia, like Chinese cargo vessels, would each be saving around 900 kilometers of transportation time to major European ports and cities like Budapest, Vienna, and Rotterdam if this canal existed. And at an average sailing speed of 10 kilometers an hour, that would be the difference in nearly 8 days of sailing normally versus just over 4 days with the canal. Now, of course, you would have to add in some extra time for canal locks and possibly some traffic, but you get the point. It would save a massive amount of time and also be way more efficient, which ultimately will save the Chinese a lot of money. On the average, a European Class 5 barge with a length of 109 meters and a width of 11.4 meters can transport about 2,000 tons of goods at a time. In order to transport that same amount of goods over land, you'd either need 82 trucks or 42 train cars. Boats and barges are simply more efficient than any land-based transportation method. They require significantly less crew to operate, take up way less resources, and are much more environmentally friendly too. And while you might think, why hasn't this been thought of sooner? Well, it actually has. You see, the origins of connecting the Danube to the Mediterranean in this fashion can be traced all the way back to the 1840s, when the idea was originally discussed. In 1907, the United States actually established an engineering commission to perform a study of the proposed paths that could connect the Danube to the Mediterranean and determine if a canal could be reasonably built. But after a few, let's say, turbulent geopolitical events in the area over the course of the 20th century, like the Balkan Wars of 1912 and 1913, the First World War, the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, the Second World War, the Cold War, the collapse of Yugoslavia, and the Yugoslav Wars of the 1990s, the project was eventually put aside. The past century has been infamously chaotic for the Balkans, and chaos breeds fear and uncertainty, which are things that outside investors generally don't appreciate. Even today, a project like the canal from the Aegean up to Belgrade would be complicated by numerous modern geopolitical factors. For example, the first option for a canal would have to begin in Greece, an EU member state, and run through North Macedonia and Serbia before entering the Danube, both of whom are non-EU member states. Serbia's relationship with Kosovo has been the primary factor in them never being able to join the European Union, while historically both Greece and Bulgaria have blocked North Macedonia from being able to join either. Would all of these countries be capable of working together to build one of Europe's largest canals? And further on, how would Turkey feel about all of this? For thousands of years now, the city of Istanbul, and previously Constantinople, has been located at one of the most strategic locations on the planet at the entry point between the Black and Mediterranean Seas, which has given the city, and whoever controls it, immense power and influence over both regional and world affairs. If the Chinese helped to fund a canal from the Danube to the Aegean, it would effectively give ships moving between the seas or between the Danube and the Mediterranean an easy way to circumvent the Bosphorus for the first time in human history, and radically alter the geopolitical reality of the area forever. It would inevitably diminish the strategic location of Istanbul, and as a consequence, Turkey might not end up being too happy about it. However, as China looks to expand her influence abroad and influence in global geopolitics, we can expect high-dollar infrastructure projects like this to happen some way or another at some point in the future. And despite the project's projected $20 billion price tag, it wouldn't be too surprising seeing the thing actually get built anyway sometime in the next few decades, since the project is both technically feasible with modern technology and certainly economically justifiable from the Chinese and probably European perspectives too. It may be the best time since 1907 to look at altering the geography of the Balkans for economic gain. And it's definitely the best time in history to look into buying the Nebula Curiosity Stream bundle too. As you probably know by now, Nebula is absolutely full of content from your favorite educational creators and me. There's my Nebula exclusive series Ghost Towns. Every real-life lore video goes up at least one full day early and none of them have any ads. My new channel BioArc has videos going up a full week early before they do on YouTube. And I'm working on a new original series called BioArc After Dark. And with that bundle, you also get access to Curiosity Stream's thousands of top quality professional documentaries, like Cities of Tomorrow, which will take you into a deep dive into the world of the future across 3 episodes that will explain in rich detail what life in our cities will be like 50 years from now. And if that isn't your cup of tea, then there's thousands of other documentaries to choose from, between subjects like engineering, history, science, nature, and more. And right now, the Nebula Curiosity Stream bundle is on sale for less than $15 for the entire year. So please make sure to head over to curiositystream.com/real-life-lore, get the bundle deal, and help support not only myself and Real Life Lore, but dozens of other educational and thoughtful independent creators. And as always, thank you so much for watching.